177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. Dr. Joe Dispenza said this at the very, very beginning of that clip. He said, we have to start thinking about what we're thinking about. That's where all of this starts. It's the awareness around thinking about what you're thinking about. If we walk through life, ladies and gentlemen, if we continue to go through life and we're not aware of what's happening up here, we will keep doing the same things over and over again and getting the same results. In 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class, this is called metacognition. Metacognition. Are you thinking about what you're thinking about? I know it's kind of deep, but like, do you know the thoughts? I appreciate what Diane put in the chat. And as far as like scripture wise, because all this stuff goes hand in hand, right? Romans 12:2, be not conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It means you got to think, right? You got to renew your mind. We got to understand. It also says in scripture that we can take all thoughts captive. If you can take a thought captive, if you can grab a thought, that means that thought is not you. That means you are outside of that thought. That means you can think about what you're thinking about. And the more that we can think about what we're thinking about, the more we can get awareness to change some of those wirings, unlearning and relearning. That's the process. Here's what it says in the text. It says, when it comes to the thoughts and feelings and attitudes, excuse me, the masses are heavily influenced by external forces, like a pinball being bounced around from bumper to bumper. Their outer world determines their inner world. World-class thinkers are just the opposite, knowing that their thoughts control their feelings. The great ones have adopted the habit of thinking about what they think about. Psychologists refer to this as metacognition. This championship habit enables the performer to get to the root of the thoughts that bring about both positive and negative feelings. Once the performer is aware of the thoughts that are ultimately creating his result, he has the power to change any thought he chooses. In essence, metacognition enables the performer to take control of his thought processes. This makes the champion's reality directly opposite from the masses, in that the great one's inner world determines their outer world. In other words, the results they achieve in the outside are dictated by the thoughts they have on the inside. The masses are victims of their own thoughts. They have the same potential for greatness as the pros do, yet are simply not paying attention to what they are allowing to enter their minds, and the results are disastrous. Meanwhile, the world class is thriving on upgraded thoughts and are manifesting tremendous results. They know the better they become at controlling their thoughts, the better their results will be, and it all begins with metacognition. You want to get better in life, you want to get to your goals and dreams, you want to make all the things happen in life that you want to make happen. We got to learn how to control our thoughts. What does it say here? It says the middle class, what does it say? They're victims of their own thoughts. The masses are victims of their own thoughts. The masses are victims of their own thoughts, meaning their thoughts, right, are basically turning them into or allowing them to live in the reality that they currently are living in, right? Like they become a victim of their thoughts, of how they think. So we have to think about what we're thinking about. Take those thoughts captive. The thoughts that you have that create the feelings of anxiety, worry, insecurities, depressions, fear, all the stuff. The thoughts bring us to that place. It's not just a natural feeling. Oh, I just feel that way. You're thinking about something and it's making you feel that way. So if we change our thinking, we can change how we're feeling. And that's what Dr. Joe Dispenza is talking about. And this is what we have to embrace for those of us that are on the journey of designing the life that you want. You got to take these things in and say, you know what? My thoughts are controlling all the rest of the things. So here's the key. Here's the key. Are you paying attention to what you're allowing into your mind? Because your thoughts didn't just come from you. They came from places. They were programmed by people around us, by our environment. Now what programs us is all of the distractions in life. social media, television, any forms of escapism, entertainment, right? Like these are the things that distract us, and they put thoughts into our mind. They literally, like, by you watching, these are your eye gates, your ear gates, right? Like this is how we get things in. So whatever you are watching, consuming, whatever you're listening to, consuming, is where your thoughts go. It's where your thoughts go. I was teaching my mom this, right? We sometimes got to teach our parents some things, right? Teaching my mom this, right? She has very high anxiety, and you know, she gets worried very quickly about things, and she'll spiral. She'll spiral real quick. She'll go from a happy place to a thought that she doesn't like, and then and now her day is ruined, and right, everything's gonna be horrible. You know what I mean? So I've helped her to say, like, hey, when you have those thoughts, what do you do? When you are spiraling and you know it, when you know that your mood is getting worse, you're worrying more, you're feeling it, like, what do you do? I asked my mom, it's like, what do you do? It's like, I try to think out of it. Like I try to, right, like kind of just sit and pray and think about it, and right, like just kind of get through it. And I said, how's that working? Right? Because I know my mom, it's not working. Right? And that's always been the method. So what I've encouraged her to do is, when you're starting to spiral or think about something, put on something to consume better things, aka watch a sermon, listen to a great podcast, put on worship music, watch something that takes your brain to a different place. It causes your brain to think and not just listen to whatever's going on in your head. You have to actively feed it. You have to actively feed it. When you are feeling some forms of, again, negative emotions, worry, doubt, fear, those things, you override it by listening to, watching, consuming things that are opposite of that, that take your mind and your brain to a completely different place, right? To a completely different place. That's how you do it. But if we're not aware of that, if we're not first aware that our thoughts, right, we can take them into captivity, that we can capture that thought, if we're not aware of what we're thinking about, and then we're even less aware of what we're consuming on a daily basis, well, that leads to disaster. That leads us to being average and to not getting to our goals and dreams and to not designing the life that we want, because we're not aware of our thoughts, which are really determining all the rest of our lives. And we're not really paying attention to what we're letting in, what we're consuming, who we're talking to, the messages that we see. This is a really old example to this. This is a really old example. But when I still to this day have never seen the George Floyd video. To this day, I've never seen it. Why? Because I know what happened. But I'm not going to let that into my eye gates. I don't need that imagery. I know what happened. Everyone talked about it. I don't need to see it for myself. That's protecting this. Just because there's something out there that you think you should, like, doesn't mean it should go into here. Why? Because that enters our mind, creates our thoughts. Thoughts create our feelings. The more negative, depressing, right? That's why sometimes I'll start talking to people and I'll be like, hey, what do you do? Like, you know, on all your free time. And if somebody says they watch the news, it automatically, I know where their brain is, right? Automatically, I know kind of what they feel throughout the day or certain parts of the day when the constant news feed is 90% negative, 90% fear-based, 90% worry. And people consume that stuff all day long. Somebody might sit and be watching CNN and then switch to the local news and then watch MSNBC. They literally might watch news all day long. I know exactly the reality that they live in their body because of what they're consuming and what's getting into their mind. That's why we have to be aware of that stuff, ladies and gentlemen. That's all. Be aware of the thoughts, because your thoughts become things. Change your thinking, you can change your life. And also, let's pay attention to what we're consuming on a daily basis. Pay attention to like what you're letting in your mind. Pay attention to like what you're listening to. If something isn't getting you to the place you want to go, probably shouldn't be consuming too much of it. But just like Dr. Joe Dispenza said, right? Starts with us, again, figuring out the thoughts, changing the thoughts, creating that reality, or looking at that future vision and saying, hey, can I see it in my mind's eye? Can I believe it in my mind before I see it on the physical plane? Said something about, right, that I am statement. How many of us make I am statements? I am this, I am that. That's just me. I am that. Well, you are wiring that into you by saying that. So if there's something that you do want to become, right, then you have to say that. When we have the conversation, and this is something you can all work on, because we can all work on this part of it. Try to figure out and think about the things that you want instead of the things that you don't want. Because even by thinking about the things you don't want, you're wiring your brain to think about those things, right? Even because your brain, the subconscious mind, doesn't know don't, do, I want, I don't want. It just knows the thing, right? So the fact that you say, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to, well, technically, you should be saying what you do want. I want to be financially free. I want to make 7 figures. I want to have a healthy family. I want, like, these are the things that we can then envision, and our minds can go to that place so we can feel that currently, even if we don't see it. This is why all the money meditation, the money affirmations of people saying things like, I am a millionaire, like money comes to me easily, money flows easily. If you say that to yourself over and over again, you'll experience that in your body. So the next time you randomly find $20, you're like, oh yeah, money comes to me easily. Like, this is it, right? It all works together. That's right. Diane's dancing like that $20. Listen, finding money is one of the greatest joys in life. Even if you find like $2 in your coat pocket, right? Like it's a great joy. You're like, oh, that's an extra $2. Anyways, thinking about what we're thinking about. Thinking about what we're thinking about, taking those thoughts into captivity, being aware of what we are consuming, creating that vision for what's up ahead. And can you experience that? Can you see it in your mind's eye? The saying is, I have to believe it before I see it. The masses think the other way. The masses think they have to see it so they can believe it. We have to learn how to think the other way. Because you can see it in your mind's eye, because it's there, it's going to happen for you. Those of you that pray, that's what Joe Dispenza is saying. You're praying to know, once you pray, God's already handled it. It's already done. It's already done. But do you believe that? Do you believe that? Because that's the difference. Some people pray for the same things over and over and over and over and over and over for years and years and years. Why? Because you don't actually believe that the prayer was answered. You don't believe it because you don't see it. So God's working on you on. That's what metacognition is. That's what gets us to the life that we want, ladies and gentlemen. Action step for today says, take your emotional temperature and assess your mood. Ask this critical thinking question: how did I end up in this mood? What thoughts did you process that put you in this mood? Whatever mood you're in, it came from the thoughts that you had, came from the thoughts and things that you're thinking about in your head. Change your thinking, you change your life. Change how you think about something, change the outcome. That's the message. Love you guys. Want y'all to win. This is the tough stuff. This stuff I learned a long time ago that I was like, man, if this stuff is true, and then you start seeing all the ways that it is true, right? This stuff is true. This is how I'm going to live my life. That's what I said. Like this, if this mindset stuff is really like it, like I'm doing this. I'm fully all in. I drank the Kool-Aid. Like I'm in. Like, let's go this direction. So I believe in this. I believe we can change our life with just changing our thoughts. That's why the enemy, that's why society is out for your thoughts. They're out for like your mind. They're out for like what you're seeing and what you're processing, how you do. Like, that's it, because this is the most sacred part. And they know if they can get to that, society, enemy, if he knows he can get to that, he knows he's got you.